this is going to be my review on Spider-Man No Way Home. This is going to be in two parts. First, I'm going to give my non-spoiler review and then my spoiler review. So, sit tight. So, the basic premise of the film is that following the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, Peter Parker's identity gets revealed to the world. That being said, chaos ensues. He becomes public enemy number one, and his life is amuck. So, he turns to one person he thinks can help him, which is Doctor Strange. After a funny back and forth and a lot of reluctantness, Doctor Strange eventually helps Peter Parker, but Peter Parker botches the wish and inadvertently brings people who are aware of his secret identity to you. Thus begins the whole chaos in this movie. Honestly, this Spider-Man movie really changed my perspective on a lot of the problems that I had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. The villains did an excellent job with what they were given. It feels like they never missed a beat. All the actors were doing A1 jobs. And now I remember why Norman Osborn was so threatening in the first movie. Man, does he have a hate boner for Peter Parker. Of course, Alfred Molina did a good job. And Jamie Foxx really snapped in this movie. Say what you will about Taz and Electro, but Far From No Way Home, Electro, gas. Like, that's a guy that you understand. Oh no, this man is crazy. Spider-Man's supporting cast does a good job as well. Ned and Michelle do a great job at really handling what it's like to be the friends of Spider-Man, especially during the most stressful time of his life. Aunt May feels the most mature in this movie. You really see that she's a mother, more of a mother than actual aunt. Her dynamic with Peter is very adorable. Also, we have the return of Happy. You can't really say anything wrong about Jon Favreau. He's just there for comedy and moral support. He does a really good job. Wong is here too, makes a small cameo. He's now Sorcerer Supreme after the blip. He got a promotion, so Doctor Strange is currently not Sorcerer Supreme. There are a lot of Easter eggs in this movie and lots of classic one-liners from other Spider-Man movies. I really dig the redesigns of the MCU versions. You get their classic versions, but also get, as the movie progresses, you get cool new updates. Lightning round for all the villains that are in this movie. If you've seen the trailer, you know who's in this movie. Sandman, great. Lizard, at first I thought Lizard sounded really different, but turns out it's the same actor. But he sounded really weird. Yeah, no. Alfred Molina, great job. The basic premise, I think we're going into spoilers now. So if you don't want to know what's happening, just hit that like button. Thanks for listening, and come back when you have watched the movie at this point. But for those of you who are still here and don't care about spoilers or have already seen the movie, okay, the basic premise of the movie really is responsibility. and Peter's job to finally step up. Truthfully, after watching this movie, I don't think Uncle Ben really exists, and if he does, they're going to have to retcon it, because the way they act, the way Uncle Ben does get mentioned in this movie, but not by MCU Peter Parker at all. It was mostly the other Spider-Man who pop up. That's right. Tobey and Andrew pop up in this movie, and oh my God, I cried like a baby's bottom. I was there with my best friend, and oh my God, if it wasn't for the fact that there was an entire row of children in front of us, I would have, the obscenities that would have been said. I freaked the hell out, okay? And there are great meta jokes with Tobey and Andrew, like one scene with Tobey's back. He's just talking about, because that's a reference to Seabiscuit, how he broke his back on that movie, and also a reference to Spider-Man 2, but that's a whole contract and money thing, but I thought it was a nice Easter egg. Andrew really killed it in this movie. He's my favorite Spider-Man, so I'm glad they didn't do the whole thing where they shat on one Spider-Man to get over another Spider-Man. They all had equal and amazing screen time. You really felt bad for each Spider-Man because they all have their own grief. Tobey, this time around, feels very, very funny. Like, he feels more jovial, and I guess that's due to, like, less stress in his life, because the way it was mentioned is that he's in a complicated relationship at this point with Mary Jane. Meanwhile, Andrew, oh my God. So Andrew, post Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, apparently he just did not pull his punches. He got to a place in his life where he got really dark and just started beating the crap out of his villains. Yeah, but the premise of what this Spider-Man has to do after some convincing by Aunt May is that he can save the lives of every single villain in the MCU, well, every single Spider-Man villain, because the whole premise is that all of these guys, most of these guys, died fighting Spider-Man. They freak the hell out. Peter uses some of his Stark tech to help find cures for Doc Ock. He rebuilds the chip, and Doc Ock pretty much goes back to being the good guy. Goblin was supposed to get the formula fix, and at that point completely get rid of the Goblin persona and become Norman. And then Max, they would have used a dehancer to make him human again, and Max and Norman were not feeling that at all. Sandman was here. Sandman, I think pretty much everybody was going to get cured, but after Norman flipped the script and pretty much pulled the 180, Norman really is a threat. Like, we sleep on this, but after going through everything that happened, also, I don't feel as if we're going to get any of these characters again in the MCU, because now that Peter knows each one of these people become villains. So I doubt that we're going to get a Norman Osborn in this universe without Peter going, you're going to be the Green Goblin in the future, aren't you? All right, this is one of the biggest spoilers in the movies. It's not, you already heard the return of the Spider-Man. That's an obvious thing. But Aunt May freaking dies, and oh my gosh, before she dies, she gives him the speech about great power and great responsibility, because at this point, Uncle Ben pretty much is probably not a thing unless he gets retconned, and I kind of really like the scene. And when he loses Aunt May to Norman, oh my God, you really feel it. It really is a gut punch. There are cool moments towards the final fight on the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty also the torch was going to get replaced with Captain America's shield, but that didn't pan through because of the fight. We get cool cameos by characters like Daredevil. So, confirmation that Daredevil is now back in the MCU. Also, you probably knew that if you're watching Hawkeye, but there you go. The movie ends on a very sour note, but good if you're a fan of Spider-Man, but just like sour in the sense that it's one giant gut punch for the Parker look. So here's the thing. All of the villains get their... It's kind of confusing, okay, to say the least, because they all get plucked up out of before the moment that they would have ended up getting defeated or died by Spider-Man. Great, it's amazing. But the catch is, after Peter and, well, the Peters end up getting cures and remedies for all of the villains, they all magically end up back due to the spell by Doctor Strange. But the catch is this time that the dimensions were breaking, and every single character who's ever known that Peter Parker is Spider-Man from other dimensions would have came out of the portal. We've got Rhino, like comic accurate Rhino and Kraven. Lots of teasers for other villains. Oh, I forgot to mention before we get into the dimensions breaking that there was a final fight scene between Norman and Tom's Peter, and obviously it makes sense because this is a different Peter Parker. He just now has learned about the power and responsibility thing, and he's about to beat the brakes. Like, several times he's told Norman, like, I'm going to kill you. I made sure to keep you as the last person because what you did to Aunt May. And he grabs Norman's glider and he's about to stab him, and Toby gets in the way and he's like, no. Andrew pops up and he's like, no, listen, you don't want to be like us. We were killers, but we spent the majority of our times thinking back at what we could have done. And yeah, there's a part where Norman stabs Toby and everybody was freaking out because we thought Toby was gonna die, and no, he's but yeah, he beats the brakes off of Norman, and he tells Doc the universe starts collapsing because all the people that knew who Peter Parker was Spider-Man started to come in from earlier, and he tells Doctor Strange. He looks at Mary Jane, he looks at Michelle, and he looks at Ned, and he basically makes that sacrifice plea. He's like, listen, it's not about me. I would rather everybody forget who I was. So he makes the ultimate sacrifice. So everybody in universe knows of Spider-Man, but the catch is nobody knows Peter Parker, meaning everyone, including family, all the Avengers. So this is a Spider-Man who's literally bare bones. So if you complained about Iron Man Jr., or if you complained about him being too reliant on the MCU, I think John Watts and Amy Pascal really filed it down, Control-Alt-Delete, and got rid of all the complaints that people had for this Spider-Man. And now, yeah, he's got nothing, literally nothing but a crappy apartment and Legos. And he's okay with that. And he really evolved from Spider-Boy, Iron Man Jr., Iron Boy, to Spider-Man. And towards the end, he lets go of his friends and he gains the classic Steve Ditko outfit, the shiny blue and like identifiably Spider-Man. When you think Spider-Man, it's that suit. Although I'm a fan of red and black. I love that. But anyway, so yeah, that was my review for Spider-Man No Way Home. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the next time we upload. And thanks.
Didn't realize that the show